Remo Drive burst onto the scene last year with perhaps one of my favourite emo indie leaning rock albums of the past few years. It made my top 10 list, and I fell in love with Remo Drive's charm and sort of youthful style, I guess. They had a very familiar sound, but it was a kind of sound that I just drew really close to because it reminded me of like 90s bands that did this sound, but they also had this upbeat tone to their music that felt very relatable and just made you feel like you were a lot younger than you actually were. The album Greatest Hits might not have been the most unique album in 2017, but it was certainly one that captured my taste very well, and I just fell in love with it and replayed it over and over again throughout the year. But the problem with the album being called Greatest Hits is that it may have been the most accurate title, because now we have Pop Music and it's pretty weak. Pop Music is a 3-track EP, and it's their debut EP on Epitaph Records, which is a huge rock record label. So many bands on this record label that you would recognize. It's been very successful, but the one issue with this record label is that many bands that join the label end up cleaning up their sound. They end up sounding pretty standard, pretty plain. Plain is probably the best word, because so many bands on this record label just leave no impact on you in any kind of way, because it's like that sort of I've heard it all before feeling. And one thing I didn't want to happen to Remo Drive was them to clean up their sound, because the dirty 90s feel to their music, that sort of messy sound that felt like it was a bit lo-fi and probably needed a little bit of a cleanup, never needed that. And that was the one thing that they didn't need. They needed to keep that sound, that aesthetic, because it worked in their favour so well, and cleaning up that sound, making it more plain, just doesn't give them that charm, and oh, I'm so annoyed. The drummer did leave this band, and me and my friend were talking about this, and we came to the conclusion that the fact that he left the band probably was because of the fact that they jumped on this huge record label and ended up changing up this sound, because Pop Music just leaves no impact. I mean, what even is this EP? It's just 3 tracks of really standard, like, pop-punky indie rocks tracks that sound like anyone. This is any old band now. This is anyone. I guess this now could be like Moose Blood, you know? Before, they were Remo Drive, and they burst onto the scene with this great sound and had so many people warm up to them, but now they're just an indie band, you know? The instrumentals on here are fine. The vocals are a little bit more in the higher up in the mix, I would say. You can sort of hear things very clearly. There's really nothing wrong with this EP. It's just the fact that when you heard what they sounded like before, it's just really sad. I would say Heartstrings is the weakest track, though. This just, like, didn't even sound good. Like, I don't even think that there was any sort of hook to this track. The instrumental was really just stale. At least the first 2 tracks had something about them. I think the first track was a little bit catchy, but none of them were as catchy as what was on Greatest Hits. So it's like, what have you even done to your sound? You've cleaned it up, but you haven't even made it better. If you're gonna go on a big label, you're gonna at least have to make it all sound better, but I don't even think Remo Drive do that. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. They've got on this big label. Big things will probably come their way now. I'm sure they'll have an album later this year, if not next year, and it'll get a lot of attention. But I think the core fan base that loved their music before aren't going to stick around. I think what's going to happen is those kind of younger pop-punk rockers that loved Warped Tour and stuff like that are going to warm up to Remo Drive in the future, and everyone that liked them before are going to get bored of their sound. It's a real shame. I think they've compromised what made them so good before. But hey, hopefully they succeed in the future, because I do like them as a band, and I hope that they don't mess things up, I guess. Don't let the label take control of everything, because right now it seems that way, and it's made this sound quite considerably weaker. So yeah, Greatest Hits is still great though. I'll be listening to that a lot more than I will this. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this EP. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Do you like this sound more, or do you think it's worse? Let me know, and have a good day.